My name is Alex Morris. I work for the Northern California, Northern Nevada Alzheimer's Association, and this is Time to Talk. So today we're going to talk about how to initiate those challenging conversations that we can have with folks who are developing dementia, or at least we believe that they're developing dementia. We start to maybe notice symptoms, and we don't know how to broach it with our family members. So we hesitate. A lot of times we wait, and perhaps we wait too long. Perhaps we wait for a crisis, and that's exactly what we don't want to do, and why we're having this conversation. So what I'd like to do first is to go through the 10 warning signs so we can all be on board with what those warning signs actually are. And we also have them on our website, so you can see them in more detail. So, the 10 signs. Now we're talking about significant change. So not just occasionally forgetting an appointment or where you put your keys. That's normal human being stuff. We're talking about change that's significant enough to affect your ability to function in your environment. So the changes are memory loss that disrupts your daily life, planning and problem-solving issues, difficulty performing familiar tasks, confusion with time or place, visual spatial issues, and I want to hesitate on that one. I do want to expand on that one just a little bit. So visual spatial can be a few things. It could be depth perception, and again, we're always talking about change. My ability to determine whether the surface is the same height, higher, lower. It could also be body awareness, so where my body is in relationship to everything else. So when we have trouble with body awareness, we see people bumping into things or knocking things over. And also it can be misperceiving what the senses are taking in. So for example, from my early stage group, I've led an early stage group for the past 8 years, and they tell me stories which I'm happy to share with you because I think they're helpful. So for my early stage group, there's a gentleman, let's say his name is John, and he was relaying that over the weekend, he looked across the yard and he saw this profusion of color, these reds and oranges and yellows, and it was just overwhelming, all this color. And he couldn't tell us what it was that he was looking at. So I asked his wife later, after group, what happened with all the color? She goes, oh, we were gone for a few days, and the neighbor across the street has a lot of rose bushes, and they seem to bloom all at once. It was a big difference, even for me. But for her, because she didn't have dementia, her mind was able to determine what her eyes were seeing, and he wasn't able. So that's one example, or a few examples actually, of visual spatial issues. And then new problems with words, so language, and that could be reading, writing, my ability to express myself or to understand you. Missing things. Now we all misplace things. I actually have a little bit of snarky glee when I see people my age with their remotes looking for their cars in a large parking lot. Okay, we all do things like that. A big difference when you're developing, or a sign of dementia, is your inability to retrace your steps. Where did I put my water? Where did I put my glasses? When was the last time I had them? What was the last room I was in? What was the last place I was at? So folks who are cognitively normal are able to do that, and folks who are experiencing changes are less able to do that. Poor judgment. We're going to have some examples. We're going to go through some case studies in a few moments, and you'll see poor judgment in certainly one of them. Social withdrawal. I'm a social scientist. I worry when I hear about folks who are pulling back, who they don't accept invitations like they used to, or don't invite people over to their homes like they used to. I worry about folks who are starting to isolate with no clear reason as to why they're doing that. And then personality changes, and this all has to do with changes in the brain, of course. So the personality changes are often anxiety driven. The part of the brain that manages anxiety and that helps you manage anxiety, those areas are being impacted by diseases like Alzheimer's disease. So you see maybe more fearful behavior, more worry behavior, or more anger behavior. So that's what we mean by personality changes. So let's do case study number 1. So the aha moment between mom and son was a car incident. Driving's a big deal. Totally get that. driving represents independence, and that's a very difficult issue to address. So what happened is the son got a call at 3 a.m. From police. We found your mother, she's safe, but she's 50 miles away, driving her car's all banged up, she's very confused, she couldn't tell us much information, we were able to get your number from her wallet, etc., etc. So very concerning situation. And I was in the room when there was a follow-up conversation. So because of that, she was at the hospital, she had a workup, she has Alzheimer's disease. So I was in the room with the son when he was talking to his mom about this. And he says something like, Mom, you're not going to be driving anymore after what happened. And she says, what do you mean? Because she didn't remember. It's not her fault. And he said, well, Mom, the police called at 3 o'clock in the morning and you were lost and confused and it was awful and it's so dangerous and we're just going to have to talk about alternatives, which, by the way, this is a good approach. And she said, well, those officers were incorrect. It wasn't 3 o'clock in the morning, it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or there's some issue with this. There's no problem with my driving. And here's the standard argument. I've been driving my whole adult life and I've never had a ticket, or I've never had a problem. And now, of course, they either have or they're developing some form of dementia. So the world is different now. So in this case, I ask families, yes, you can bring up an issue. You probably will have to bring up at least one example to drive it home. However, don't push on that. Move on. Because if you start answering questions, going back and forth, no, I didn't, yes, you did, then nobody wins. It's an unsuccessful conversation. So the idea is to raise the issue, maybe give an example or two, and then move on to solutions. Like, I know this is really hard, Mom, and I'm going to work with you, and we're going to figure out ways where everything that you want to do, you can still do. So instead of harping on, Mommy can't drive, Mommy can't drive, Mommy can't drive, it's more about solutions. And it's hard, I get it, when it's a generational thing. This is your kid telling you that you can't do something. And if I'm developing dementia, maybe I'm not thinking as clearly, I have less impulse control, and this can turn into a difficult, very difficult conversation very quickly if we pursue our own agenda. The idea is just to present it, do our best to resolve it, come up with solutions, and reassure, Mom, we're in this together, I love you, we're gonna figure this out. The next case study, the aha moment, was when there was, hi, my name is Alex Morris. I'm with the Alzheimer's Association, and if you're now joining us, we're talking about how to conduct difficult conversations. So case study number 2, the aha moment, was a birthday party, a grandchild's birthday party at a local park. Mom shows up, adult daughter, Mom shows up with a landline phone and sets it on the picnic table. And adult daughter says, Mom, hey, what's going on with the phone? She was thinking maybe the phone was broken, or she didn't know what to think. And Mom said, well, I'm expecting an important call, and I just don't want to miss my calls when I go out, so I brought my phone. Daughter was so shocked that she didn't know what to say, and she wisely said nothing. What she did say was, hey, I've got my phone, and that phone probably is not going to work here, so why don't we put that away, and we'll just, because we need room on the bench. I got my phone, Mom. Whatever you need to do, we got this. So just normalizing it, not calling Mom out. Calling folks out usually is not a good technique. So I thought she handled it beautifully. We're not going to raise this topic, at least the conversation, at a birthday party. That's not the place to do it. Okay. We'll talk about how to do it in a few moments. So case study number 3, the aha moment. Boxes everywhere. So daughter lives far away, plane ride, suitcases, comes to visit Mom, goes into the spare bedroom and finds boxes and boxes and boxes from the Home Shopping Network. Now, Mom before was very frugal. She was very careful with her money. Daughter, again, shocked to see all of these boxes, some of them unopened, and some of them, once she started looking into it, repeated purchases, like Mom forgot that she ordered the toaster and ordered 2 or 3 more. So daughter pulled Mom aside and gently started to talk to her. That's how it's done, in a calm and gentle moment. Confrontation usually is not helpful. Now, it's okay to inquire, hey mom, I notice all those boxes. What's going on? And hear what mom has to say. Or maybe looking for distorted thinking. Well, what do you mean, maybe? Or that's not very many. So we're kind of fishing just a little bit. That's okay, as long as it doesn't feel bossy, controlling, or confrontational. All right. And then the final case study, this is a little bit different of a conversation, but I can't help myself, I had to include it. So this is when a person has a diagnosis, they're moving along in the disease. This example, true story, they're all true. True story, this husband and wife, both in their 90s. And she has now mild, pushing on moderate dementia, and she's starting to sundown, which means increased anxiety at night. So she comes to him one evening and says, just like this, honey, where are the children? So that worry, you can hear the worry. And him being a very truthful, logical person says to her, well, sweetheart, there were no children here today. Maybe you're thinking of our grandchildren. We used to take care of them when they were little, but gosh, they're all older now. They're all in their 20s and off to college and doing their own thing. We haven't even seen them in many months. So no, hon, there was no children. In this, he didn't know. Okay, he wasn't meeting her need. Her need in that moment was to be reassured that those children, even though there was no children that day, were safe. Her concern, her emotional need was, she was worried. So he didn't know, he's learning. Okay, and her response was, you're not helping me. Where are those children? So it quickly turned into a very challenging situation. And again, it's not his fault, this is not judgmental. Speaking Alzheimer's or learning to speak in a compassionate way, an effective way to folks who have various forms of dementia is a new skill set. And we teach that here at the Alzheimer's Association. So what ended up happening is he and his wife headed out the door, nighttime, cold evening, 90 years old, looking for these children, and the husband following her, begging her to come inside. So he called our helpline. He knew that he needed to do something different. So he called our helpline. I happened to pick up the phone. He told me the story, and I said, okay, you know you can't do things the same. So let's try a different approach and see how that goes. What I want you to say is something like, honey, the children are fine. They're home with their parents. Do you see how many words that was? I think it was less than 10. We try to keep it as short as possible, as calm as possible, as reassuring as possible. And then I suggested to him that maybe you might want to get up at that point and go offer to get tea or whatever's appropriate for you to get up at that moment, to kind of break that narrative so she doesn't necessarily pursue it. And you're a broken record at this point. Honey, those kids are safe. We're okay. Everybody's fine. Everyone in our family is fine. And then maybe talk about family. He tried it. It went a little rocky the first few times. It's a new skill. And yet, over time, he started going to support groups and attending education, and he got pretty darn good at this. He did push back a little bit, and I could take it. He said, Alex, you're asking me to communicate with my wife in a way that's different from the past 50 years. And I said, I know it's a tall order. And if you can do this, when in those anxious moments, not all the time, just when she needs it, if you can do this, her life will be better, and so will yours. Okay. So, things to know, how to have that difficult conversation, maybe the conversation that you're seeing the signs and symptoms and you'd like to go to the doctor. Let's say it's that one. So plan ahead. Try to have the person that has good communication skills in your family, that has a gentle manner, that won't use words that upset, that won't necessarily try to press their agenda, that they have already a good and trusted relationship with. Now some families say, should all the kids be there? And usually my advice is, no. 5 kids all descending on mom and saying, Mom, we got to talk to you, we're worried, usually creates a defensive stance, and usually that doesn't go well. Pick one, at most two folks to have a gentle conversation. A good way to start is this. Mom, if I ever noticed anything changing about you, your memory or other cognitive skills, would you want me to tell you? And see what the answer is. They're still probably going to be a little bit on the defensive, but it's a gentle, kind way to start. If they say, yeah, you might want to start. Don't come with a list, okay? Just have a couple of items in mind. Well, Mama, I actually have noticed a couple of things. I'd be happy to share with you what I've noticed, and what I think would be helpful for you, everyone, is to check it out. Whatever is the reason behind these memory lapses, whatever it is, let's go and find out what that might be. Maybe it's something that we can address, that we can treat, that we can change something about your life to make it better for you. So posing it in the positive, let's be proactive, let's do something about what I'm noticing. And if Mom says no, we got to respect that. You asked the question, she said no. But there's more you can do. You can say something gentle like, yeah, this is scary, isn't it? This kind of conversation, we all kind of worry about changing. It's hard. I understand why it would be a difficult thing to look at, that it might be downright scary. So, when you're ready, maybe next time I visit, we'll kind of talk about it a little bit again. I'll give you a chance to kind of think about it. And then go off to something else. Try not to push your agenda. Plan ahead. So, one-on-one conversation and acknowledging. This is hard. It's hard on everyone. I'm acknowledging to you, this is hard. So, let us help you. We've been doing this a long time, and we're pretty good at this. We'll talk to you at length, as long as you'd like to, really. Call our 800 number, our helpline, and we'll tease apart the issues, and we'll coach you and give you some ideas on what you might say. The words that maybe would be helpful in your unique situation, and words that maybe aren't, and maybe don't bring them up. So let us help you. I hope that this conversation was helpful to you, and we look forward to having more conversations with you through our helpline, our support groups, our education. Please look at our website, check out our Facebook page, like us, get some of our information. And lastly, I'd like to wrap with letting you know about our next live event. So in July, the 14th through the 17th, live from LA, we are having the annual Alzheimer's Association International Scientific Conference. Thousands of scientists come from around the world and report on their research. It's a terrific opportunity for them to connect, and for us to learn more about exciting areas, how we are understanding the brain better, how we are understanding this disease and these diseases better, and novel approaches, and what may be very encouraging for the future, like maybe a test, a blood test or an eye test. I'm sure that's going to be discussed at the conference. So come back to our Facebook page and look at our website. We want to communicate some of the things that we're learning from our scientists from around the world. Thank you very much.